Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. So Google Pixel cameras have actually long been known for capturing some really awesome top-notch image quality, and they've actually held on to that for many generations of their Pixel devices, pretty much as far back as maybe the Pixel 3. But now, with their latest flagship, the Pixel 7 Pro, having gotten quite a few upgrades and some really good standout features, and also with old and new competing brands like the iPhones, the Samsungs, and even now the Xiaomis of the world are all now pretty much catching up and having a few tricks up their sleeve as well. So with all that said, I actually wanted to see if the Pixel 7 Pro continues to carry that torch of Google's cameras being the best there is. So in my last video, I actually put the Pixel 7 Pro up against my iPhone 13 Pro. I have it somewhere around to do a quick camera comparison, and I actually got some quite interesting results, which I will be sharing with you guys quite shortly. But if you haven't actually seen that video as yet, I actually urge you to go ahead, pause this video. This is the only time I'm actually gonna give that permission. Go ahead and watch that camera comparison, and then you can actually come back to this one. But before we actually get into talking about those results, let's actually have a look at some of the camera specs and features that we are actually working with here on the Pixel 7 Pro. Now, we have a triple camera setup on the back of the device, all laid out in this horizontal fashion. At the far left of this camera setup is the 50 megapixel main wide camera with a 1/1.31 inch image sensor that has an aperture of f1.85 with a 82-degree field of view. Next to it, it's the 12 megapixel ultra wide camera with autofocus and an aperture of f2.2 and a 125-degree field of view. The third camera is a 48 megapixel telephoto camera with an aperture of f3.5, a 20.6-degree field of view, and a 5x optical zoom, and also a super res zoom of up to 30x. Now on the front, there is a 10.8 megapixel selfie camera with an aperture of f2.2 and a 92.8-degree ultra wide field of view, which is actually perfect for some of those group selfies. Now, also just to note quickly that both the wide and the telephoto cameras has optical and electronic image stabilization. Now, where the native camera app is concerned, I actually found it to be mostly quite good for me personally, and perhaps will actually be perfect for the majority of you guys out there. Now, by default, the app actually launches in camera mode, which is probably what most people will be happy with using for the majority of their shots. However, I actually must point out that the shutter lag here on the Pixel 7 Pro is actually quite significant, and this actually goes to show how this camera actually heavily depends on software processing. Now, the shooting modes here on the Pixel 7 Pro are actually also worth talking about, with Google finally giving us cinematic video mode to bring the lineup up to par and up to speed with the other devices such as the S23 Ultra and even the iPhone 14 Pros of the world. Now, for those of you who don't know what this does, what it does is actually blurs the background, just that this is actually gonna be for video. Now, there's quite a few other neat features that the Pixel 7 Pro can do, like photo unblur and magic eraser, that actually works really well. So I actually won't go ahead and talk about those in depth. But if you guys would like to see a more in-depth video on the settings that I personally use to capture both photos and videos on the Pixel 7 Pro, then go ahead and leave a like on the video and also leave a comment down in the comment section below, and I'll definitely hook you guys up. But let's actually go ahead now and talk about the results from my camera comparison between the iPhone 13 Pro and the Pixel 7 Pro. Let's get to it. Now, first up are these set of photos that I captured using the front-facing cameras on both devices. Now, on the left is the iPhone 13 Pro and on the right is the Pixel 7 Pro. And right away, we can definitely see a huge difference in how these devices actually process images. Now, bear in mind, none of these photos that you're seeing were edited whatsoever. Everything was pretty much shot in auto mode, and both devices actually handled the processing themselves. And I must say, out of the two, straight up, I really like the photo coming from the Pixel 7 Pro. Now, it's just a very well-balanced overall image in my opinion. My skin tones here are perfect. My black jacket that you're seeing right here just looks exactly true to life. The red sweater beneath my jacket isn't oversaturated at all, like how it's actually looking over here on the iPhone. And also on the Pixel 7 Pro, I can definitely see a bit more detail in the sky. Now, those trees in the background, those trees aren't as green as how the iPhone is actually showing it. Now, the Pixel 7 Pro here definitely got it right. And in general, in my opinion, again, the Pixel 7 Pro just definitely comes out on top for me with this photo. It's just an overall well-balanced, well-looking image. Now, moving on to the next photo here. Now, for this set of photos, I was actually testing the rear camera portrait mode here on both devices. And it's clear to me that the Pixel 7 Pro really struggled the most out of the two. Now, the iPhone 13 Pro actually did a way better job here at edge detection, even though if you should look carefully, it really wasn't perfect. And when zoomed in, you can actually see that it also did struggle a bit to detect the edge at the top of my hat and seems to be fine everywhere else. But when you look at the Pixel 7 Pro, it did a pretty bad job. It really struggled. And as you can see here, my ear is totally blurred out. The entire image is just simply not usable at all for me. Now, usually I stay away from using portrait mode no matter what smartphone I'm using, because it's really not great. I found it not to be great on most smartphones that I use. So I tend to stick with just using the standard main camera, which actually gives me way much better results. Now, this next photo that I wanted to highlight and talk quickly about is this macro shot that I actually took of my PS5 DualSense controller. Now, I think this was the perfect item to test the macro capabilities of both the iPhone 13 Pro and the Pixel 7 Pro. And guys, as you can see, the 13 Pro on the left, of course, and the Pixel 7 Pro on the right, and it's quite obvious which one did better in macro mode. Now, I really struggled to get a decent shot of the small details on my PS5 controller using the Pixel 7 Pro that you can definitely see I was able to get from the iPhone 13 Pro. Now, if you're wondering if the Pixel 7 Pro has macro mode, trust me, it does. But for some strange reason, the focus distance in macro mode on the Pixel 7 Pro is not the best. So yeah, Google is actually going to definitely need to address this macro mode on their future devices, maybe the Pixel 8 coming up. Now, moving on, let's look at an example of how these devices actually handle night shots. So on the left, again, the iPhone 13 Pro, and the right, the Pixel 7 Pro. And this one is actually a bit more of a subjective choice here. Now, the iPhone clearly, in my opinion, produces a bit more of a, should I say, brighter, more saturated, contrasting image, with the overall photo looking quite sharp. And on the other hand, the Pixel 7 Pro actually produces more of a neutral, more muted looking image. Definitely quite the opposite of the image that is coming from the iPhone. It doesn't have that digital sharpness, which is what you tend to get from most smartphones, and which is something that I kind of like, not having so much of a digital sharpness. And if you look closely on both photos, the white balance also differs a bit with the iPhone, giving a much more warmer tone, while the Pixel 7 Pro is actually giving much more of a cooler tone. So, as I said, both photos, in my opinion, aren't bad. It's definitely what you'd prefer. But for me personally, I prefer the photo that is coming from the Pixel 7 Pro. And finally, let's actually look at examples of the video quality that is coming from both smartphones. Now, in this video shot that I have here, iPhone on the left, Pixel 7 Pro on the right, using the rear cameras and in cinematic mode. And I'm not gonna lie, both are looking good. But the iPhone has the clear and obvious edge here because it's actually capable of doing cinematic mode in 4K, while the Pixel 7 Pro tops out at 1080p, which is why the iPhone, if you're looking closely, has an overall better video quality, even though I much prefer my skin tones and the overall white balance from the Pixel 7 Pro. But the overall video from the Pixel 7 Pro looks just a little bit too soft. And when both phones are not in cinematic mode, it becomes actually much more closer, as both are capable of recording a 4K resolution. Now, at that point, it all becomes a matter of preference. But ultimately, in my opinion, the iPhone again beats out the Pixel 7 Pro when it comes to video. Not by far, but just a bit. So with all these examples and from my camera comparison, do I still believe that with Google's newest, the Pixel 7 Pro, does it still continue to be the smartphone camera champs? Well, if we're actually just talking about photo processing, then I really still think Google has the edge above most on the market, even above the iPhone, with the Pixel 7 producing some of the best skin tones I've actually seen coming out of a smartphone. However, much of the competition have actually just about caught up and are now capable of producing DSLR or mirrorless camera type of photos and videos. We're actually all seeing people now pretty much comparing iPhones and Samsungs to $4,000 to $5,000 professional camera setups. And as ridiculous as it may sound, these smartphones are actually getting really close to that level. But let me know, what are your thoughts on Google Pixel cameras now in 2023? Do you still think they are the best on the market, or do you think it's just perfect enough for pretty much everything you need it to do? Let's talk about it down in the comment section. Anyways, if you found this video helpful, then please go ahead, leave a like on the video. That helps out the channel a lot. And remember, also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so as yet, and if you like content like this and you want to become a part of this community. Now, thanks again as usual for the amazing support, but I'll definitely see you guys again in my next video. Peace.